In the 1980s, the concept of a video game character started to solidify, as technology advanced enough to give what you play on screen some kind of personality. There were many great video game characters from the 80s, and in that first wave, all of the big names came from Japan. However, there was one born in the West that came to be loved by Japan, so much in fact that he was adopted and exported as one of their own. Spelunker. Stay here for the whole story. In the 21st century, Spelunker and his games are well known. Not bad for a character that's over 40 years old. He's not the biggest draw in gaming, but holds a special place in the hearts and minds of enough hardcore gamers to come back time and again. Particularly in Japan, where he has the strange distinction of being the most popular character in Japan that isn't from there. And without that dedicated fan base already in place, a series and character like Spelunker would simply fall through the cracks and become forgotten. It all began in 1982. The Atari 2600 was red hot, leading to a lot of competitors fighting it out to make a best-selling game. For every Activision and Imagic, there were dozens of also-rans that swung for the fences and often missed. One of these was Apollo, full name Games by Apollo. The outfit did not last long, and from the ashes of Apollo, 3 men, Tim Martin, Robert Barber, and Cash Foley, kept on going in search of wealth and fame in the Atari boom. After outsourcing their work to create an Atari 2600 adaptation of the film Halloween, Tim and the others took the profits from that game to set up their own company, Micrographic Image. Tim got to work on their first game, Spelunker, arriving in 1983 for the Atari 400 and 800 8-bit home computers. The goal of the game is to traverse a long, winding cave in search of treasure. You have to keep moving because your energy meter is always running out. Also, there are many dangers, ghosts, and boiling hot geysers. Not to mention bats that drop cock-a-doodle on your head, as well as falling too far to the ground, all of which costs 1 life. Spelunker requires quick thinking to avoid the things that are in the way, while picking up items to get you through, such as flares and dynamite to clear the way, keys to unlock access to further areas, and energy that fills up your meter. Is energy the battery to your helmet light, or air supply? Well, no time to think about it, just keep moving. For a game from 1983, the map is gigantic, though it is divided up into 6 stages where you do get a break and a refill. If you've got what it takes, the treasure may be yours. Despite the impressive game that Spelunker was, Tim Martin still had no luck in video gaming. Spelunker was the only game Micrographic Image ever released, though Tim had always been working on the side, programming titles for Broderbund, which I've heard is actually pronounced Bruderbond. This led Tim Martin to license out the rights of Spelunker to them as he moved on to other things, including creating his own ISP, where, I guess, he finally got rich. Under Broderbund, Spelunker made its way to the Commodore 64, where the game's visibility increased. Broderbund was also one of the first, and few, American companies to bring their games to Japan with success. Choplifter, Karateka, and Lode Runner, which is similar to Spelunker, all became hit games in the land of the rising sun. At first, these games came to the MSX and PC-88 systems, but thanks to Nintendo, the family computer also became a viable option. There was only one problem. Nintendo didn't deal with foreign companies. The only workaround was to license these games out, which really wasn't a problem, as suitable publishers lined up to create family computer versions of these titles. For Spelunker, the rights went to Irem, at the time best known for Spartan X, aka Kung Fu. The creator of that game was a man by the name of Scott Tsumura, who was already building quite the resume of games that were both imported into and exported out of Japan. By this time, it was the summer of 1985, and the gaming world was about to change forever as Super Mario Bros. Hit the streets. We don't need to go into the impact of Super Mario here, but it is very clear that gaming in the 80s was divided into 2 eras, before Super Mario and after. Spelunker by Irem arrived on December 7th, 1985. It was a good position for Irem to be in, offering the first run-and-jump platform game after Super Mario Bros. Though I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Scott Tsumura made some key changes to Spelunker, beyond a graphical facelift and a catchy soundtrack. The flare gun is a bit easier to control, and you can pick up money as you go, which helps keeps you focused on the main goal of the game. Oh, and the game is now insanely hard! Everything kills you! Falling just 14 pixels? Dead. 1 drop of geyser water? Dead. 1 drop of bat kakaduki? Dead. When has that ever happened in real life where something takes a dump on your head and you die? And the energy meter? It's still there, but you can barely see it. Who even knew it was there? But then there are things that don't kill you, like these bumpy rocks, and you can jump off things at a distance higher than what kills you, and you live. It makes no sense. But despite this, Japanese family computer owners came to love Spelunker, and the numbers don't lie. Spelunker sold over 420,000 copies, considering there were only about 6 or 7 million family computers out there at the time. That's not too bad. While on its way to that impressive number, Spelunker became something of a cult hero, earning the title of the weakest hero in video games. I guess the old saying is correct. When you hear that games back in the 80s had to be hard to get enough replay value out of them. I mean, could you imagine if Spelunker was easy? The game would be over in 20 minutes. It really would feel like a waste of money. But if you could finish this torturous game, then you'd be a god among men. Spelunker was popular enough to commission a few Japanese-only sequels, Yusha-e no Chosen, A Battle for the Brave, on the family computer, which is not impossibly hard like the original, and is more like a standard action-adventure game, and 2 arcade versions with even better graphics and even full endings. The deaths in these arcade games are a little more forgiving, but can you imagine how many 100 yen coins you'd need to see the ending? The arcade Spelunker also kind of looks like a mashup of Mario, Luigi, and Wario. He looks really weird. Following an MSX port and the eventual American re-release on the NES near the end of 1987, the Spelunker story goes dark for quite a while. Though he was gone, he was not forgotten. The weakest hero in video games became a legend to Japanese gamers. The word Spelunker itself had become adopted into the language, referring to anything very weak and prone to death or injury. In fact, now retired baseball player Hitoshi Tamura was nicknamed Spelunker Tamura due to a long career plagued by injuries. The name was applied in a loving way, though. Thanks to the Wii Virtual Console, Spelunker was introduced to an all-new audience and reacquainted with those of us who were there the first time. The reaction was positive enough to bring Spelunker back from the dead, a common trend in the 2000s and 10s. Mina no Spelunker, known in the West as Spelunker HD, hit the PlayStation 3 in 2009. With solo or multiplayer action, the game is still very tough, especially when you factor in new obstacles like the Indiana Jones-style rolling rock. You can also switch to classic 8-bit graphics, which really is the only way to play. The game has been re-released for modern hardware, while a follow-up, only in Japan, Spelunker Black, appeared in 2010. And that game is even harder. How is that even possible? Simple. Turn out the lights. One thing you'll notice is that Tim Martin still gets credited on the title screen after all these years. That's of course the right and legal thing to do, but Tim and Scott actually worked together with a larger staff to bring these newer games home. It's good to know that Irem didn't forget where Spelunker came from. Hot off the success of Spelunker HD, the weakest hero ever made a cameo in 3D Dot Game Heroes. Hands down the best PlayStation 3 game ever made. Spelunker is unlockable, Zelda Second Quest style. Just enter his name as your save file, and off you go. But be warned, touching anything on screen, or any fall of even 1 block, will kill you. No wonder the team from Dark Souls that you meet in the game is so impressed with you. All that's nice, but what takes the cake is the full-length anime OVA, Spelunker Sensei, where Spelunker has retired from cave exploration and has settled into a much easier job as a high school teacher. His weakness to everything around him, however minor and minuscule, is the main focus, always with hilarious, though predictable, results. So while Spelunker doesn't have the greatest story in video game history, it's still an important tale, a reminder that you don't have to be the fastest, the coolest, the most popular, or the strongest character out there. As long as you've got your one thing, you'll always be unique. That can never be taken away from you. And if enough people notice, that one thing can take you anywhere. One more thing, some scientist in Japan did a proper study on Spelunker and determined that, to scale, this fall could crack an egg, but still not kill a human being.